So this is the self-development with tactics book.
Listening more and actually talking less when you're having a conversation with somebody, but more after the intro. As always, as every single day, because this is what I do. And this is also what I'm willing to do. But with that being said, hello, welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics fucking podcast. And I'm pretty pumped to be here and I'm pretty pumped to talk to you today about listening and talking, having a conversation, those things. But before I begin my maybe even rant in the end, maybe turns out into a rant, but I'm just really willing to tell you that this particular episode is also available as a podcast, which means that you can just listen to it, which is just, way more efficient than just sitting here for 30 to 50 minutes and watching me. This is not really efficient because you're not really able to do something simultaneously. But if you're listening to this, you're able to do something simultaneously. You're able to just sit here or just, you don't even have to sit here. You could be going for a walk. You could be going out and running a little bit, jogging, whatnot, doing some sports, working out in the gym without having to look at this video. And it is also a pretty nice thing for your mobile data. If you're not having so much mobile data, which might or might not be the thing in this age. But if so, then the podcast is also just way better because normally the YouTube video is 10 times bigger. No, it's not 10 times. Well, actually, when I'm uploading it, it could actually be 10 times bigger. But normally it's like 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. Something like this bigger than the audio is, which is kind of the beauty of it as well, that it is just nice for your mobile data and whatnot. But sorry for sounding so nasal, whatever. It is just what it is, just a little bit of a slimy thing. It pisses me off as well. But Listening and talking when you're having a conversation. The thing is, since I've read How to Win Friends and Influence People, I know that listening to people is a just really incredibly useful tool and way to interact with people, I gotta have to say. Because the thing is, people like to talk and people like to talk about themselves. They really like to talk about their thoughts, not really feelings. I just wanted to say feelings, but this is not particularly right. They like to talk about their thoughts, about their opinions, about the things that they have experienced and all those things. They really like to talk about those things. But something that I do just have to point out as well is that it is not always the case. Some people really like to talk about themselves and I don't know, talking about themselves is like the best thing they can do in their fucking life. And some people are like kind of the opposite, They like to just have a conversation that is like 50-50, like you're talking 50% of it and they're talking 50% of it. Often though, it really comes up to what you're talking about with this particular person and what kind of relationship you're having with them. Of course, if it is your boyfriend or girlfriend, you're going to have a different conversation than if you're just talking to your teacher or somebody else that is not really your friend, but you just know them. And it also just really comes up to the topic because some people like to talk about their personal life and some people just don't like to talk about their personal life. But those people that do not really like to talk about their personal life might be willing to talk about their opinions on certain things, their thoughts on certain things, and just those kind of, those really not deep things, those things that really maybe do not have to do with their personal life, maybe with themselves to some degree, but also not fully. But it just, in the end, really comes up to the person, to the topic, to the relationship you're having with the person, obviously, or maybe even not that obviously, and so many different things. But something that I've seen is that once you notice that the person is talking, and also I think the person is talking like themselves, like in terms of, you don't even have to ask a question, but they're going to talk anyway. They're going to talk because they want to talk to you and they want to talk about this particular thing. then I think it is just a really great way to, first of all, ask questions and listen. Ask questions and listen. It is a pretty nice, I don't want to say tactic or strategy and whatnot. It is just a really nice way to make the conversation as good for the other person as possible. Because if you're like, okay, if you're like talking to a person and you notice, okay, this person is talking without you asking a lot of questions and whatnot, then asking more questions is actually a good thing. First of all, you're going to know the person way better afterwards. Second of all, it's going to be probably a pretty nice conversation for this particular person. And it just also in the end is good for you because you get the information, which is just good for you in the end if you're just willing to get that. And in the end, it is maybe a win-win, maybe also because the person is going to be like, okay, it was a nice conversation, even though it wasn't really a conversation. It was more like a monologue, and you've just been listening to the person while asking quite a few questions. It is something that I couldn't give you an example, unfortunately, but it is also something that I've seen from time to time. That I think it happened to me once with a friend, Once I was talking to a friend and it was basically like me listening. He then said like it was a nice conversation, it was nice talking to you as always. And I really then thought about it, and I really had to think about it because it was just the case, it was just the case that I most often was listening. I most often was listening and asking questions, but the point there is that you should also be interested, in what the person is saying. You shouldn't really be like, well, you shouldn't just be like kind of acting like you're interested in the other person, because people notice these things. People really notice things, and people definitely notice when somebody is not authentic, somebody is lying, and all those things. People just, they somehow notice. I do not even know why and how they're doing this and how people are noticing that. And we are noticing that, but we notice. We notice and we recognize those things, especially if it's like inauthenticity or just not being authentic, and we just know these things. So listen, and it's probably going to be a good conversation for the other person. You might be able to just connect with this person in a particular way that you like to connect with. Maybe you're not going to burn the bridges, which might be the case if you would be the person that is talking, if you're kind of consciously deciding, or if you're consciously kind of trying to connect with this person in terms of actually then having the connection afterwards as well, which means that if you need the person afterwards, that this person is also going to show up and help you. But it's just something interesting, and you should try it out. You should definitely try it out to just talk to a person, not talk to a person, but only listening to this person, asking questions, being interested, and just having a nice conversation. Or more like a monologue, but it's going to be a conversation for them. But something else that I wanted to mention, but I actually forgot, unfortunately, is that it is really important to point out that it might not be the case for everyone. It might not be the case for everyone that everyone likes to talk to talk. Some people like to listen just by nature. They like to listen by nature. And I was just thinking before this episode whether you should then just be talking just because the person likes to listen, and or if you should be encouraging this particular person to talk, because this might actually be a pretty good thing, to give them the opportunity. Because who knows why this person is actually willing to listen more than this person is just talking. Maybe the person actually has the same exact intentions as you're having, which is kind of gathering information. Kind of, Of course, we're not gonna tell this to anybody, or we're not even going to tell this ourselves, that we are merely talking to somebody just because of information, unless it is your job, kind of. But yeah, not everyone likes to talk, and we are all individuals. Like it's going to be always different. And something else that I'm just remembering, that I've also learned through How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's actually been one of the best books that I've ever read, and I In the beginning, I was like, it's just, again, such a book that is giving me some introductions on how I should be reading it, because it actually said that I should be reading it 2 fucking times. In the end, up to half of the book, I think I've read it, the first half of the book, I read twice. Because I was really like, okay, I read the first chapter and then I read the first chapter again because I thought like I do have to do this. Maybe there's just some kind of reason behind it. And of course, it actually made me remember those things a little bit better. Like I would say that the first part of the book is something that's stayed in my mind for a little bit of a longer time than the second kind of half of it. But in the end, it was really a good book, and I've learned a lot of things, even though it basically talked about the same things over and over again and whatnot. But but yeah, listening is important. Listening is really important. Also when you're just producing content for social media, listening to your target audience and seeing what they actually want to have. It is not really about what you want to have, but it is more like about what they want to have and their kind of perception of quality and what is quality for them and what quality means for them, because quality might mean something completely different for you compared to what it means to them. So listening is truly important in just a lot of different areas of life. But another thing is actually remembering somebody's name. It might be just some obvious shit. It might be something that's you're gonna be like, okay, for sure it is important to just remember somebody's name. But I kind of feel like that people are not really giving as much of a fuck about it as they maybe should, because it truly is important. If you're going to call somebody a different name, they're not going to be really happy about it. It's happening to me quite often because Christopher, is a relatively, I don't want to say uncommon, but you're going to hear most often Christoph, without the ER in the end. And I've been called Christoph so fucking many times in my life just because, I don't know, it seems to be the case that people don't get the last 2 fucking letters. But after some time, you kind of get used to it and it is fine and you kind of can live with it. But still, it is not a pretty good thing to do. And just asking for the name again after you've actually heard it, but you haven't understood it and whatnot, is better than just not engaging with this person just because you don't know how this person is called and what her or his name is. But I don't know. So this is my little rant, and this was my little rant. And let's actually see if we can find an Quora question, or maybe even 2 Quora questions. Since we're having so much time today to go through a Quora question. Or 2, or 3, or maybe even 4. So let's see. This is something that we talked about just before, this cognitive behavioral therapy. This is going to be the last day's episode. Even though I'm recording this just afterwards, it's going to be for tomorrow. But yeah, let's see if we can find a great question. In terms of different things, hopefully. Maybe it's going to be about design as well, What is the point in social media when you can just text your friends? I really get what this person is just referring to, It just, I don't know. When when you're using social media just for texting your friends, then you could just text your friends as well. But I kind of also get what this person means. Like, okay, if you're posting something on, Instagram and people are seeing it, you could also just send this photo to your friends and that's quite it. I don't know. I think it also has something to do with having status. Of course, it's feeling good if you're getting a lot of likes from other people. And, watching other people is something that we do just like to do. This is one of the reasons why we watch vlogs, while we are actually watching accidents. When we're driving by, everyone's going to turn his fucking head or her fucking head. It is insane. It really is insane. But I have to actually not sneeze, but the other thing, like, never mind. We like to watch people, and it is a pretty nice thing that you can do on social media. Like, of course, you can have a fake profile, but you could also do it with your name. Like, you could be following some people that you kind of know, that they are living in your city, and you just want to have a look at them, And this is also a great way to connect with other people. Like, I don't know, it is a great way to kind of expand your little bubble, of people that you know, people that you're engaging with, and all those things. It's just a pretty nice thing to do. Another question. Another one. Another one. Which is better, Illustrator or InDesign? This is referred to, or, if you're a designer, and if you like to illustrate things, then use Illustrator. If you need to make magazines, newspapers, books, so in general, things that you are willing to print out, often it is also going to be the case that you should do the artwork in Illustrator and or in Photoshop, and then you're importing it into InDesign, and then you're going to print it actually, Sometimes even not, it depends on what you're doing with it. But if it is about newspapers or magazines or books and whatnot, you're going to have to use InDesign. If it is about illustrations, then just use Illustrator. It is not like which one is better, it is like what you're using it for and what you should be using it for, because you can use InDesign for illustrations, but it's not really suggestible and or advisable. It can work. Like, I really hate when people say, like, it wouldn't work, you can't do this. I don't know. There's one particular guy that is fucking drawing with Excel. So, yeah, you could also just be using InDesign for making illustrations, of course, but it is not advisable and suggestible. It's just a pain in the ass in the end. Why are logos becoming flat? Just because it is a trend. To reduce things, to not have a lot of elements that are just not having any meaning, just some elements that are there for looking nice, looking fresh, I don't know. Therefore, logos are becoming flat. But I have to say that some companies are actually also doing the opposite. Like, they went from a flat one to a non-flat one with a lot of gradients and whatnot. Something interesting to see. But I gotta have to say, something that Seth Godin also said is that a logo isn't actually as important as the graphic design firm that you're just in contact with thinks it is. Of course, it just, it does make it different. It really does. But if your product is shit, then your logo won't kind of make it good. Unless it is about brand, But if it is about brand, then it has nothing to do with your logo or how your logo looks. Unless it is actually, does not. The thing is, if you're having a logo that nobody is able to remember, it is not a good thing. It is not a good thing. Maybe it's also not a good thing for branding, just because nobody would know that it is that brand or that it is just this particular company and whatnot. But yeah, in the end, it is not too important. Like, as I said, if your product is just really shit, people are not going to buy into it. If your product is just really fucking good and your logo is just really fucking shit, people won't fucking care about your logo. But maybe they would just feel like, well, why don't they have a better logo? Because their product is so good. I don't know. Of course it is an expense. It definitely is. A logo can be really, really expensive. It depends on what graphic design firm you're just talking to. But it can really be fucking expensive. Like, it is insane. It is insane, how much companies have been charged for a new logo. And also, on the other hand, it is just insane that some of the companies actually haven't been charged for anything, Also pretty interesting. Would a meaningless life be easier? I wouldn't necessarily say so. I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say that a meaningless life is easy. I think it would just really destroy you and you would like to kill yourself. Like, to really not joke about it. I don't know. Like, if there's no meaning in your life, why would you then live? It's not easy. It is fucked up and it's shitty. Our fear and pain maladaptive coping mechanisms to a perceived empty, meaningless existence. I don't fucking know what this person is referring to, so therefore I'm just going ahead. What can I do to love myself? Maybe seeing oneself just kind of in good lights, in terms of we all have bad sides and we all have good sides. I definitely have my bad sides. I'm a fucking aggressive person. I really am, and this sometimes is not the best thing to be, and not a really easy thing to handle. Like I don't know, just being my girlfriend is not easy. It really isn't easy when you're having an aggressive dude there, somebody that is just working a lot and willing to work a lot and all those things. It is not easy, but of course I'm also having my good sides. And maybe this is something that people that are not loving themselves, or people that not particularly like themselves, maybe this is something that they don't see. Maybe they just don't see what they're good at, and what they're capable of doing, and all those things that they are just good at, in terms of, okay, you are a person that is just a good listener. You are a person that is charismatic, all those things that lead to maybe even understanding yourself a little bit better. Maybe it is even about understanding yourself in terms of how much you like yourself and or love yourself. Because I can assume, okay, if you're not able to understand yourself, then would you actually love yourself as well? I don't know. I assume it might not be the case. But see, let's actually have a look at the news, because it is actually a pretty nice and a section that I really liked, or really like that I have introduced it into the podcast, because I don't know, especially technology related news, not really, but just regular news, because most often it's just some negative bullshit, and I really don't like to just to buy into it, to be honest. But yeah, and also science. Science is also pretty good. Not really health, because this is also another section that Google News is having. Like, there's science and there's health. Health contains some things like I'm using Google News because I haven't mentioned before. It is just the only thing that is working as I want it to work. Especially also the app. The app is amazing. But yeah, the health section is also about suicides and homicides on the rise in young people. You are only as old as you feel. 6 breast cancer symptoms every woman needs to know. Excessive brain activity linked to a shorter life. And all those things. Like, in the end, it's just only negative bullshit. And I do not really want to kind of, I don't know. I'm really trying to not surround myself with just such a lot of negative bullshit. But yeah, let's see what headlines we're having in the science space. NASA will award Boeing a cost-plus contract for up to 10 SLS rockets. Underwater volcano creates bubbles more than a quarter-mile across. What the fuck? NASA first all-female spacewalk set for Friday, which is insanely good, as I've been talking about it yesterday as well. Visitors from deep space. The thing is that I'm just seeing that, I don't know, like, because this episode is going to be for tomorrow, maybe we're having new news tomorrow. So I don't know, news is always a little bit of a tricky thing, especially if you're thinking about publishing something in the future, but this news is right now and whatnot. But yeah, it is fine. Amazon's first bulletproof vest is piranha protection. They are now making bulletproof vests. It's insane. This live stream of a whale skeleton getting eaten is metal as hell. What the fuck? What the fuck? I assume that it is actually not even that bad to just watch, to be honest. How human brain development diverged from great apes. But yeah, this is what science says. It's not that interesting, to be honest. So let's have a look at technology, because this is what I'm interested in. I've seen something in terms of the PS5. I've been a big PS3 player. I didn't have a PS4. My friends have and had, but I never had it. It's always been the case that my brother always bought those things, those new consoles and whatnot. And he's actually also having a PS4 and Xbox One. And I don't know, it's never been me that bought those things. It's always been my older brother. And but yeah, just a little note here, just a little bit of an insight. And by the way, I've seen that there's actually a Switch Lite. I didn't fucking know that there is a Switch Lite, and I don't even know if it is a new thing, but I guess it is actually not. And therefore, I've also had a look at their site, to see what it is capable of doing and whatnot. So if you don't know that there is a Switch Lite, so Nintendo Switch Lite, it is just only capable of be used as a handheld gaming device. So you're not able to kind of use it as a tabletop device, which means that you're able to kind of use your controllers or just pull it out of kind of the device and use it just remotely. The controllers are fixed in there. It is available in 3 colors, and it is capable of playing all the games or compatible with all the games that are that you're able to play in handheld mode, and there's just a little graphic there. So the Nintendo Switch is capable of TV mode and tabletop mode and handheld mode, and also includes those Joy-Con controllers with the cameras and whatnot. And the Nintendo Switch Lite is only handheld compatible. And I gotta have to say, like, the Nintendo Switch Lite is $199.99. And the Nintendo Switch, the normal one, is $299.99. So it's basically... Oh. No. It's like $100 more expensive, but you're able to do so much more with it. Like, I don't know. I understand those people that are going to buy themselves the Nintendo Switch Lite just because it is cheaper. And if you do not need to just play with friends and have it as a tabletop thing and TV thing, then... it would make sense, just because it is cheaper, but I don't know, for all the other people that are, I don't know. Like, there must be a market for this particular product, because why would Nintendo then do it if there wasn't a market? But yeah, Apple introduces $300 Beats Solo Pro headphones with noise cancellation, fold to power, and more. That's quite good, I guess. That's quite good. But there's not a lot of releases, The tech news, I know the technology news had been better. We could also just have a look at Tech Meme, or what it is called. Tech Meme or something. Not quite sure. Yeah, it is actually Tech Meme. Yeah, it is the site that I thought about. Because it often also has pretty nice technology news, a little bit better ones than Google News is having, even though you can actually make Google News kind of personalized in terms of actually then having some topics that are shown. I'm actually a guy that there are certain newspapers in Austria that I'm not really willing to see, and I've actually banned them from my Google News feed. I do not want to see them, which most often are those, not gonna get political here. Get political here. But yeah, I assume that this episode is just gonna be a little bit of a shorter one, like 2 minutes shorter, maybe not even. But yeah, I wish you the best health, awareness, and also success. And I also hope that you're going to remind yourself on how you're going to be remembered. So basically your legacy, because we can shape it, even though I gotta have to say, there are so many people on this planet that just have to be, there are just going to be some people that dislike you and or even hate you. It is what it is. But yeah, something else. I know 3 other questions that I hope that you're going to ask yourself are: why are you here? What are you trying to change? And what is bothering you the most? Because these 3 questions are hopefully going to show you your purpose and maybe even a new business idea. Because often businesses start out with fixing something that bothered them quite a bit. But yeah. something else. I really hope that you've liked it. I really hope that I was able to share some value with you or provide some value for you. And I'm hopefully going to see you the next time. So please subscribe to the podcast and also to the YouTube channel if you've liked it. And if you do not want to miss out on any value, then please just do that. I would really, really appreciate that. And it would really mean a lot to me. I'm going to see you the next time, hopefully.